Hello, everyone. Welcome to the American Experiment podcast. I'm your host today, Catherine Hinderrocker, joined by John Hinderrocker and Jenna Stocker. Thanks for joining us, you guys. And happy Veterans Day.
Yes, happy Veterans Day.
And by the way,
tomorrow.
you know, this is typical of how holidays have been, kind of corrupted. So Veterans Day is actually tomorrow, isn't that right, Jen? It's November 11. Yes. And in England, for example, they've stuck to that. It's November 11. And they call it what, Remembrance Day.
Remembrance
Day. It started after the First World War, as ours did.
It was Armistice Day.
Yeah, that's right. It was Armistice Day. And they call it now Remembrance Day. We call it Veterans Day. But as in America, it's all about the day off. And so Veterans Day is by some people being celebrated today on the calendar. You'll say, oh yeah, Veterans Day, but the actual Veterans Day is tomorrow, right?
Yes, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month was the purpose behind November 11th.
And if you work for the government, you get today off, but not at American Experiment, right?
We work harder, twice as hard, I think.
Low bar. Well, Jenna, you wrote this article here. I read it physically. Bill printed this off. This is like the most boomer thing I've done in a while. I physically got a printout of this online article to take my highlighter to. But it's really awesome. You wrote about basically the fading away of VFWs and American Legion clubs. So I have a quote that we pulled out here. There are simply fewer active duty military personnel and veterans, a troubling statistic for organizations that rely on these pools of people for membership and participation. What inspires you to write this piece?
So, naturally, Veterans Day, in November is always sort of top of mind. I'm a veteran. My husband is. We have many veterans in our family, which is in itself, I think, pretty interesting when you think about how the military's touched different lives in America throughout the decades. It's turning into more of a closed society, I guess, a club. Most people don't have contact with people in the military. So my grandfather served in World War II in the Pacific, and he passed away 20 years ago last month. And so I remember he would take us to the Legion post near our house. My grandma would get liver and onions. A lot of old people there. It's just typical, nothing fancy, very humble.
Liver.
Yeah. And so it kind of got me thinking about where our Legion post is, where our VFW is near our house. And, it's back behind a tiny strip mall. No one ever sees it. It doesn't have a prominent place. So my husband and I went over there and kind of checked it out. Very quiet, not very many people there. And just think about the number of veterans, especially the World War II generation, passing away. And with it, draft military, and it's all volunteer force now. And so it's just a smaller cadre, smaller club.
One of the points, Jenny, you make in your piece is there are nowhere near as many people serving in the military as there used to be. At the end of World War II, we had, 12 million service members active at that moment. And today we've got, 10% of that, 1.2 million or something. And, of course, I never really thought about this in those terms. But the obvious consequence is we simply don't have the number of veterans that we once did because we don't have that number of people serving in the military. I grew up, I'm older than you two by quite a bit, but when I was growing up, every man in my hometown had served in World War II. Now, if you were 70 years old, you hadn't, but the people my father's age, every one of them served in World War II. And you could talk about whether they were in the Army or the Navy, a handful like you, Jenna, were in the Marines, not a lot of Coast Guard members in South Dakota, but everybody had served in it. It was a universal experience. And as you point out in your piece, that's so different from what we have today.
Yeah, it's I was thinking about if you go out to eat, maybe decades before, you could sit down, chances are that someone there or many people had served in the military in some capacity. Now, it's more likely that no one has, or has someone in their family even has served. So I think the people are becoming very much disconnected from what it means to serve in the military, what that looks like, for military families, benefits. You go into the VA, my husband and I, we go there, once every 6 weeks or so. And, it's changing demographics. Even when we first started going, you see a lot of, see a few World War II campaign people wearing their medals or logos, and then Korea. That's all sort of in the same time frame. And then Vietnam, and now you're getting down to Gulf War. So it's a much
Jenna,
smaller.
you were an officer in the Marine Corps, right?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. So when I was in Quantico, which is also where the FBI Academy is too. So all you Silence of the Lambs fans out there.
I'd be curious to know to hear you talk about, Jenna, how your service has impacted your philosophy politically at all, or being here at a conservative organization, how those things impacted each other. Because as we talked about, I think this phenomenon of being more distant from people now who may have served, the two people in my family who are veterans have died, and I think about the people, my nieces and nephews, who are they going to know that served? It's becoming more distant, and I think that has definitely had an impact on some of the political trends we're seeing in terms of taking things for granted that come to you in this country if you're born here. I don't know. So how did that impact you personally?
Sure. So, I kind of mentioned it before that I came from a long line of people who served, many people in my family, and I think that's true a lot of people that serve today. They usually know someone or have a lineage to it, especially in the academies. But for me personally, we fly a flag outside our house every single day. And I think if you go to different neighborhoods around, I would say most people that fly the American flag in front of their house are going to be conservative. It was just something that was automatic. And my family growing up, for us, what I'm teaching my kids, and what, you take an oath to the Constitution, and you really get a bearing of what that means at a more visceral level. I think, when your life is on the line. I was never going to be in infantry, but, it brings a whole deeper meaning of standing on the shoulders of people that came before you, what people sacrificed in World War II, in Korea, in Vietnam, whether you agree with those policies or not. But, it's interesting, too, if you look at the things that the VFW and the Legion stand behind. I think immigration is one of those things that they are calling for immigration reform, protecting our borders. It's a big thing, I think, just about what it means to be an American.
So Jenna, you in your article in the Spectator, you went to the local VFW post and talked to some people. They're very interesting. I really commend that article to people listening to this podcast. But what does the future hold for organizations like the VFW and the American Legion? I mean, when I was a kid, a huge percentage of American men particularly belonged to one or the other of those organizations. My father was a member of the American Legion, and they have a magazine that came to our house every month, But what does the future hold for those organizations as the number of veterans inevitably continues to dwindle?
Well, they do have membership drives, and they try to capture people that come back from, different, when you go overseas or you're coming back, you're switching duty stations. Hey, we're out here. We're here to support you. We can explain benefits to you. So I think a lot of times, a smaller Legion or VFW membership means is, well, first and foremost, I think it impacts the support that veterans get. A place where they can go, where they have sort of a built-in family. I think a lot of people, goes back to what Catherine was saying about kind of that disconnect. And you're used to a very rigid and standard way of life. Things are told to you. Everything's scheduled. It's much different than when you re-enter the civilian world, and everything is just completely different, and you don't recognize. It's just a different way of life to get used to. So to to walk into an organization or a place where everyone has that common experience is comforting in a way. So I think when people, to go back to what you were saying, John, when veterans organizations like the Legion and the VFW, lose members, I think it loses their ability to keep going with outreach for veterans coming home too. So, and also I think just the face that they have in the community. I mentioned the American Legion baseball or parades. That might be the only exposure that young people have to veterans at all. So, to pass down what it means to be in the military today or decades ago, I think is an important thing for young people to learn about, especially if they don't have family members to teach them themselves. So
yeah. And last thing on this, Jenna, you tweeted something today that I want to ask you about. It says, "Happy birthday, Marines. Semper Fi since 1775. Don't worry, we'll save some crayons for the rest of you." Okay.
Yes.
Crayons? Can you explain crayons?
Yeah. So for the military, we like to poke fun at each other, the different branches. So there's sort of some. So I'm married to a Coast Guard veteran, and I very jokingly refer to him as a puddle pirate every once in a while. And he laughs, and he was enlisted. I'm an officer, so he tells, well, I work for a living, and these. So Marines, for some reason, I have no idea why, are perceived, very big misconception, that we're dim. We are empty-headed. We're just, bullet fodder. That kind of thing. So crayon eaters is sort of referencing for some reason that we're not as smart as people in the other branches, even though we're obviously not.
That explains that explains a lot.
So the Air Force is the chair force. You have your squids in the Navy. I can go on if you want me to.
We're getting some angry comments.
Well, that's all in good fun, and it's all very. It's terms of endearment.
That completely explains why the production team here on the American Experiment podcast told me that they had a snack for you that they wanted me to give you.
Lovely.
I got a 12-pack of crayons right here for you to take home.
The variety pack, yes.
All different
my
flavors.
Favorite, yes. And I will, a good dessert for after the MRE that I have at lunch. I love it. Thank you. Shout out to
Happy Veterans Day.
Yes,
Jenna.
and 248 years strong for the Marine Corps. So, hoorah.
That's awesome. Well, our second topic for today is we have a golden turkey update. So Northern Lights Express was neck and neck with the state office building, as you heard Bill and Bill talk about on our last episode. But the Northern Lights Express has fallen behind because, breaking news, for the first time in the whole time we've done the Golden Turkey, a couple of years now, the cost of a nominee has actually gone up while the vote is open. So the building is now projected to be $729 million, getting a little bit ridiculous. So it has pulled ahead in our polls.
Is this
John?
like a conspiracy theory, though? Maybe they did this on purpose because they wanted to win.
They're trying to win the Golden Turkey.
They knew.
The competition is tough.
The squirrels, come out for the squirrels, people. They are not. I don't know.
I keep promoting the squirrels on the radio and so forth. I voted for the flying squirrels, but right now the flying squirrels are in fourth place with only 7%. And it's probably because we're not spending as much money on the flying squirrels. If we were spending $729 million on flying squirrel research, that would definitely be in first place, I think. But it's not the dollar amount.
Right.
That's the point of the Golden Turkey. It's the wasteful spending that best exemplifies the contempt that politicians have for our money. And sometimes that is measured in hundreds of thousands, not, hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, that said, I got to say, this is unbelievable to me. $729 million to renovate the state office building, which mostly houses the House of Representatives. It's called the State Office Building. There's a Senate building, houses the Senate. The State Office Building mostly houses the House of Representatives and their staffs, and then there's some other officers there as well. But $729 million. They renovated the whole state capitol just a few years ago for $279 million. This is a building that already exists, and they're renovating it, and they're adding a wing for $729 million. It wasn't that many years ago. I forget who it was, but it was a member of the Senate who famously said, $1 billion here, $1 billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. That went down in history, right? It wasn't that many years ago that at the federal level, people were saying, holy mackerel, $1 billion, that's nothing around here. Well, you can start saying that at the state level now in Minnesota. I mean, our legislature is currently spending about $36 billion a year. They have no idea where that money is going. They have no idea whether those programs are doing any good. I mean, $1 billion here, $1 billion there, and now we're approaching $1 billion to renovate this one building. I mean, it is complete madness. And by the way, Bill Glahn of our staff wrote about this at AmericanExperiment.org. And he discovered something in the plans that no one else has talked about. So this building, they're renovating it, they say, in large part to provide better security because it's a dangerous neighborhood. Well, it's dangerous for everybody, not just legislators. And some people would say, yeah, that's because St. Paul doesn't enforce the laws, So we have legislators being carjacked and things like that. So they're turning this building into a fortress. But what Bill Glahn discovered in the plans is that they're putting in a balcony. They're putting in a balcony that is not going to be open to the public, but this is going to be for the use of the House Majority Leadership. So the DFL currently, DFL Speaker of the House, DFL Majority Leader, they will have this balcony that they can walk out on at the top of this fortress and survey the peons on the street below. And I'm looking at this drawing. And by the way, it's this world famous architect firm that is designing this building. Their address is 1 Park Avenue in New York City. And they have designed all these famous skyscrapers, and they designed buildings at Harvard and Yale and all this kind of stuff, around the world. Well, we've brought them to St. Paul, Minnesota to design the $729 million state office building, replete with the balcony from which the Speaker and Majority Leader can survey the ground below. And you know what it reminded me of when I saw it on the drawing? You've been to Buckingham Palace, right?
I was just going to say, they have are they going to ready their wave?
Yeah. You know the famous balcony at Buckingham Palace where the royal family will come out on state occasions and wave to the adoring multitude below. That is what this balcony looks like. And I think that's pretty much what these politicians have in mind. I think they have completely lost track of their rightful role in a democracy.
Or they can light their cigars with our dollar bills and just use them as light up.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like giving Hunger Games to me. Have you seen Hunger Games? It's like, because if you've been to St. Paul too, I'm sorry, I'm gonna make the guy behind the camera mad, but that city. Wow, that city needs help. What are they doing? If you live in St. Paul, I would be so angry. What are you doing with my tax money? This place is run down. Every other shop is just vacant. And now they're going to have this beautiful building to look down on the vast wasteland.
Is terrible. Yeah.
It's brutal.
Well, they say they got to spend all this money for better security for the state office building. Well, I understand the need for security. But the problem is all the people that live around there, that work around there, that pass through there, they need security too. And instead of turning the state office building into a fortress, which the public is not allowed to enter, how about if we use some of that money and actually enforce the laws and protect not just legislators and staffers, but the rest of the public?
And fill the potholes and stuff,
Oh, they raise
that
taxes.
Just some basic things.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, the last one is another little bit of state news. We got the new Minnesota state flag designs. And if you didn't hear, the Minnesota state flag, if you even can imagine what that looks like, is racist. It's been deemed. There's a Native American on a horse riding behind a farmer plowing in a field.
Gone away with the Land O'Lakes.
Exactly. That's a
Native
great
American,
point.
yeah.
Land O'Lakes reference. I mean, yeah. So we should just erase that seal from the flag. I don't know, but the submissions are open to the public for what it should look like, and I think we've got a couple we can
Well,
look
they've
at
gotten
here.
hundreds of them. There's a web page where you go
I
and
think it was
see.
2,000 plus was the.
Is that right?
Yeah.
God, they're
So everybody
bad.
is sitting down and designing a flag. Most of them, to me, look more like logos. You know, they're kind of pretty geometric
Yeah.
designs with a loon stuck in the middle or
Right.
something. But they're not really what I think of as a state flag design. But we're gonna see a few of them here.
Okay. So this is the OG, right?
That is the existing Minnesota seal or flag.
That's-
I guess
that's-
the state seal is in the middle
That's
of a
like
blue.
more intricate than I was imagining.
It's
That's
very
pretty.
intricate. Yeah.
Yes, the infamous lab.
I did see this.
Labrador Retriever.
That's nice. I don't mind this submission.
I'd fly that outside my house.
I think it's nice.
Oh, you can't be serious.
Did you see the others?
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know. I think what is that?
Oh,
I might need
did
like
Bill,
a
did Bill
definition.
Walsh? Is that a curling stone? Is that what we're seeing? Here?
Oh, it's a curling reference?
It's too obscure.
Yeah, I didn't know. Bag?
If
I
you're
don't know.
gonna have a sports reference, it's got to be a major sport. Why did we get
Bill's
that?
throwing
Bag,
hands.
B-A-G? I have no idea.
A minute.
See, this
Safe
one's a
word.
joke. Okay, there were several like this, featuring mosquitoes and whatnot. Pandering to the myth that we have a lot of mosquitoes here.
Myth? What in the world? Wait, what?
I don't know if we have.
Well,
a picture
hold
of
on.
it.
Explain yourself. Wait, how is that a myth? We don't have a lot of mosquitoes here?
Positive thinking, Catherine. Positive thinking. Well, not
If you
this
don't
time
think
of year.
they
we
exist,
don't.
they won't exist.
It's
They
only
actually
it's
do
only
something I didn't know.
it's only
There's
during a
worse.
brief interlude when mosquitoes exist in Minnesota. They should not be on the state flag.
All
A
right,
brief
that's
interlude
fair.
called
That's fair.
summer.
Yes. That's,
Oh, okay. Is this
it's
for like the new legalization of the the
I don't
weeds?
know what that is.
wow.
This is
I
their
don't know.
representation. This is what they gave to
So,
the.
so they've drawn a face on the state, and it looks like the face is high. Is that it? And then they've got the colors like psychedelic background. I don't know. I don't know what that is.
It's a new wave.
pass.
All right, last one.
I got to blow that
Oh,
up.
I gotta need a
You
zoom.
got the hammer and sickle there.
Oh.
Social state of Minnesota.
There you go.
Well, that has the virtue of accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Even the ones I saw that were, I think like genuine submissions, they all just remind me of all of these logo rebrands that everyone does. Every major company now, Land O'Lakes, what a perfect example. They've rebranded, and they've taken away anything. Not only have they taken away any kind of historical significance, Land O'Lakes, I think it was Aunt Jemima, is that the other one? Any of their ties historically to this brand and any significance that the brand had in culture, they've made their logos just uglier, plainer, uglier, modern, worse. I saw someone pointed out on Twitter the other day, like the old Dutch potato chips have stood strong. They have this like beautiful, intricate logo of a kind of windmill thing, and it's really nice. And so I think we should support the traditional
Good chips too.
traditional logos of the past. I don't know. That was the same thing to me. It's all these
No,
geometric
it's-
shapes.
Yeah,
and-
it's just the homogenous. It's like you hardly see the old school McDonald's anymore with the red roofs. They all look like just.
Did you see what they did to
ugly-
the Dinky Town McDonald's?
It's terrible. It's terrible. I think
No.
they
In a
should put.
font.
I think they should put like Tim Waltz's head on there with the Mickey Mouse ears, so that everyone, 30, 40, 50 years from now, saying, "Who is that guy?" Be like, that's the guy responsible for being all this monkey business, redesigning things, and saying everything is racist. That's him right there,
Yeah.
Tim Waltz. So he can go down in history and remember him for all the awful things that he's done to the state.
I like that. You should submit that as the period
Or
over.
clown nose. I don't know.
There we go. Not bad. Well, that's all I got for today. I mean, I think, let's see.
What do we have coming up, Catherine? Anything at the center that
Always a lot
exciting
coming up.
happenings.
If you want to get more involved in what we're doing, we have our best party of the year. Probably it
Yes.
started out as the YLC Holiday Party, our Young Leaders Council. This is our group for people 39 and under in Minnesota. Conservatives, you need a place to go when you get off work at your corporate woke job. You can come and hang out and have a drink with some people where you don't have to have a filter on necessarily all the time, and you can meet some people that are like you. It's really fun, and we've kind of turned this into a family party now, the holiday party, and it's awesome. So go to our website, americanexperiment.org/events. You can sign up there and get in now. There's an early bird special. It's also Give to the Max Day next week on Thursday, which means it's our biggest fundraising day of the year here at American Experiment. We have a $60,000 match. So up until $60,000, your donation will be doubled, which is awesome. So this is the best possible time to donate if you're planning on doing so. And the donations are what keeps the lights on here and what keeps a conservative force here in Minnesota. Not all is lost, that is for sure. And we are happy to be here, but we need your help to do it. So head over to our website there and you'll see the link to our Give to the Max page. Anything else?
That's it.
Signing off. Happy weekend, everyone. Thank you.